Welcome to another episode of last week's Comics Today. I have a pretty decent sized stack of comics, but before I get into that, you're going to be seeing my hand at some point, and I've got this Band-Aid on there. And let me just say, I was opening a box earlier this week, and I was cutting towards myself, almost cut my leg, didn't, and then, wisely, I thought, this is stupid to be cutting towards myself, I should cut away from myself, at which point I immediately sliced open my hand. So, when I say stupid, hypocritical, contradictory things in these videos, this is who you're dealing with. So, we're going to start with Imperial War, Nova Centurion. This is kind of a zero issue to the series that is launching soon-ish? I don't remember when. And it functions pretty well. It basically gets the characters up to speed with what the audience already knows, which is the Inhumans are responsible for this. But in order to do that, Nova syncs with a world mind, and I had this oh shit moment when they showed me the Cancerverse world mind, which I didn't know was a thing, because if you at all follow this channel for any length of time, I don't read that much Marvel. So I don't keep track of everything that's going on, and the fact that there was a Cancerverse world mind, editor notes, thank you for that. Sounds like a great story. Anyway, Nova, writer, is syncing up with World Mind so that they can access World Mind's computing power to figure out who has done the thing that the audience already knows. And there's a lot of sort of establishment of history, and it functions really well. And it's good, and the Inhumans announce themselves at the end of this. We have this speech by Medusa, in which she's... lie of omission, I'll say. She's addressing the Kree and saying, look, you guys are in a bit of a pickle. We can help with that. And what she leaves out is, we are also responsible for you being in that pickle in the first place. So it's sort of a galaxy-wide lie of omission. Functions well. I think I've already signed up for the first issue of Nova, because it is McKay and I don't know who's on art. But I enjoyed this. It was good. It's a good setup. I'm curious to see where it goes. I don't really like the idea of Nova for Hire trying to earn money to keep World Mind in the energy. It seems unnecessary. It seems like a new layer that wasn't there the last time. Richard was the only Nova with the World Mind helmet and whatever. It seems different. I'll see where it goes, but this is off to a good start. That was a start. This is an ending of sorts. The final issue of Daniel Warren Johnson, his 24 issues of Transformers, with art on many of the issues by Jorge Corona. It is phenomenally well done. There are so many instances of just oh shit moments in this. It's something Todd has talked about in art of comics, of giving the audience, you know, a couple of pages, splash pages, panels, whatever. I love this. He's running at him. Oh, that's incredible. Giving the audience a couple of like oh shit moments. This is gorgeous. Really powerful standout panels per issue, and this is like every page is just a work of art that has slowly been constructed. I mean, it's a lot of this Optimus versus Megatron, and there are quotes from the movie, and I know the first time they couldn't use "You've Got the Power," or was it "You've Got the Touch"? I can't remember which line had to be edited earlier on in the series, but holy cow, when those I don't want to show you anything. So I've shown you the first, I think, 3 pages, and that's really all I want to get into, but it's phenomenally well done. A couple of things aren't wrapped up to the extent that I thought they would, and those will carry on, presumably, into Kirkman's run. I don't know. One guy has read issue 25 and says he's not happy, but until I get there, I don't have any idea what he's talking about. So we'll see when I get there. But this is really well done. Speaking of well done, we have Conan issue 24, which ends the Stygian, his team up with Zula in the Stygian city, and this sort of serpent-obsessed, I don't know. It's complex, but it's also really well done. This is my favorite arc since the first arc with Brisa, and the art's incredible. The writing is phenomenal. I loved every second of this. I don't own all of the Conan trades, but I will definitely be buying this trade once this comes out, because it's so well done. This is what I want from Conan on a month in, month out basis, but I don't always get it. They go through a bunch of different artists. Well, not a bunch, but they've been going through different artists, and I like some better than others, and also I think the writing is sometimes better. But this is extremely well done. This arc in particular, the last 4 issues, and there is 2 issues prior to this that sort of set the stage, that I think were Braithwaite, and I skipped one of those, and I kind of wish I hadn't, but I can go back. But this is incredible. Just phenomenal art and writing at every conceivable level, but plenty of snakes to behead. Holy cow. I loved it. I loved every second of this. And then we get this Joker face lady, which is that's tragic. It's really good. Loved every second of it. Farmhand 25, and I'll show this real quick. So there is only 1 issue left, 26, which I imagine is part Reckoning, part Epilogue, part Memorial. There's the big stuff happened this issue as far as confrontation with the threat that has been looming since the beginning of the series. So many plot threads have come together at this point, and I believe now, with 1 issue to go, which should be out next month, that it's just tying up some loose ends. Hopefully giving people a happy ending. I don't know, man. There's so much. I don't want to show off too much of this either. I'll just show off a bit of the art here of Rob Guillory. But it's really well done. I have loved this series. I'm glad that it has returned from a very long hiatus, and that it is getting a conclusion, and you can get the trade. Hopefully the earlier trades are made available if they are not currently. But it's really good. The family stuff, there was definitely at least 1 major oh shit moment in this as well, of like, you can't do this, not again. And then it works so well. So I'm not showing off much. I'm speaking in very vague terms, but I enjoyed the hell out of this. Speaking of vague, UnChosen issue 3. This is such a bizarre series. So it's written and drawn by 1 guy, and it's 4 issues, so there's only 1 left, and honestly, very little has happened. It's Harry Potter-esque in the sense of people that know things and should be talking to the main character are being extremely obtuse and vague about things that should be upfront about. And so, like, naturally, they drive her away because of this. Anyway. It's one of those things where, I'll just say it. So these 2 people are trying to win over this girl. They think they have her on her side. They think they have her on their side. And instead, she's just extremely confused. And I wish they'd stop censoring all of the f***s. I don't know. That's weird. And then there's this counter group of people that are like, hey, you're being lied to. And who knows who's actually lying. But they make a compelling point to her, and she switches over to this group of black-clad people instead of the brightly colored people. And who knows how that's going to turn out. But there's only 1 issue to go, like I said, and who knows if this is going to continue. I have no idea. I'm curious enough to find out, though. because the art is phenomenal, and the writing at least leaves me curious enough to spend another $4 to see how this ends. I imagine it will be the end question mark, in the hopes that it will continue in some form, because I don't see how this is going to wrap up in any conceivable way. But who knows? I'm frequently wrong. Nocturnals, the Sinister Path. I've been aware of the Nocturnals for a long time. I've certainly seen them when I used to do conventions back in the aughts, but I've never actually read one of their stories. So I'll say this too. This was originally a trade, a graphic novel that has now been cut up into 4 issues, which presents its own problems, because there's a lot of introduction here, and it doesn't really get to the meat of the story until the very end. I've got this great Sean Murphy cover, which is very different from the art inside, and I mean the art's great. No complaints. Story-wise, writing-wise, I won't be continuing with this series. There's a couple of conversations here where both sides, this is one of those in particular, where both sets of characters speak kind of the same. There's one character that sort of stands out, and it's her. She has a distinct voice, and everyone else kind of just sounds same-ish. So there's no real, I mean, other than appearance, there's not much to differentiate characters from one another, but it's okay and not okay enough for me to continue. And I'm glad that I gave it a shot, but it's just not for me, ultimately. Powers 25, issue 1. I have wanted more Powers ever since Bendis went to Marvel, however many years ago that was. All I wanted was more Powers, and he worked at Marvel for a very long time, jumped over to DC, and we got a couple of nice things from Marvel. We got stupidly aged up John Kent, and we got a 12-issue kind of good Young Justice series, but other than that, I'm like, dude, I just want Powers. Powers was so great. And 25 years since the start, which feels like a very long time, we get a new Powers. This is a 12-issue series, and I'm fully on board for this after what was a phenomenal first issue. So we get a new detective, we get a couple of recurring characters, returning characters, I should say. There is one thing that I feel like is a mistake. It's this panel right here, where this group of panels, bubbles, is attributed to these two people, but I think it should be those two people, because these people are watching what is happening over there, but this is a conversation that is continuing from over there. There's a couple of things that, there's one other instance in here that I think is wrong and weird, and I don't know. Otherwise, it's a phenomenal issue. I loved it. These are definitely distinct voices for each individual character. It's great. I loved it. It is very much a continuation of the world that was previously established in Powers, but there's also like meta commentary on idealistic youth concepts of what the future might be, and then that clashes with reality, and it's really well done. It's great. This is what I have wanted for many years, and I'm now getting, and I'm just thankful for it, and I'm going to enjoy the ride for the next year. This is an older book. I think this came out in April, but this is Planet Death from Bad Idea. This is issue 0, which is on newsprint, and surprisingly it's flattened back out, even though I had it rolled up for quite a long time. Bad Idea has some legitimately bad ideas about publishing comics, and one of those is they don't make everything available to every retailer. So Planet Death was the exception. I wanted to give it a shot, and it has taken until now for me to get an issue of it, but this is bizarre. So there are 2 writers on here, and the art is phenomenal. I will say that wholeheartedly. Artist there, Tomas Giarello. Art's incredible. The writing is practically non-existent. I'm going to spend more time talking about it just in this couple of minutes than there are words in this entire thing. But we get stuff like this. I mean, this is incredible. Art, like I said, phenomenal. The story is, well, I should throw a story in quotes because this basically needs its own zero. This is a 0 issue and needs its own prequel because we start with a guy in captivity, right? And he's telling a story to his captors about how he got there and what is about to happen next. And once he finishes telling his story, then the jailer is like, no, that's not what's going to happen because we already know you're coming, and instead this is what's going to happen. But really, none of it actually happens, question mark, because we see the proposal of things, and we see this is mystifying. I'm utterly confused by this because it defies show don't tell, and it's all tell. The one guy saying, we came and we kicked your ass, but we don't see the ass kicking. It's just storytelling of ass kicking, and then it blows my mind. I don't know. And he's like, and then this is what's gonna happen. We're gonna kick your ass some more. And the other guy's like, no, we're actually gonna kick your ass. But none of it actually happens. I don't think. It's all just proposed. And how does the guy get captured? Who knows? Not shown. It's frustrating, but gorgeous. And here's the thing. I already bought the first issue. After reading this and being completely confused, and I'm like, well, I already bought the first issue. So I will review this next week, mostly because I haven't read it, and I'm only getting 4 comics next week. So I will talk about this then. It is oversized, it is cardstock, and it is more expensive. So this was newsprint, and it was $2, and this is like $6, which is, given today's prices, not terrible. Lastly, I got the Serpent in the Garden, Edward Gray. I've been looking forward to this for a long time. I liked Edward Gray, and then he went off in kind of a weird direction for a little bit, and then he came back, and as a character, he has had a wild journey, and I'm fully on board for that, and I will show off this, because I haven't read this yet, but I will, and I have a bunch of stuff to read, but there is... Where is he? What seems to be the Green Man. Look at this. That's my little guy. So, really looking forward to this. I will fit this in at some point and either talk about it next week or shoot its own separate video. I've also been reading a bunch of One Punch, and I need to shoot a video on that too. And that is everything I'm going to say. So... as far as pick of the week goes, I have no idea. Powers is great. Farmhand, Transformers, Conan. This might be a large split. 3-way? Let's see. Transformers, Conan, Farmhand, Powers. Grab all of these. If you are at all curious, grab all of this. I will say, Powers is great. It's a number 1. Conan is the end of an arc. Transformers is the end of a run, and Farmhand is the penultimate issue, but all of this is great. And lastly, there's also Centurion, but yeah, there's a lot of good books out this week, which I'm always thankful for. But I got all of this from my weekly? I got all of this from my local comic book shop. If you don't know where yours is, you can use this URL to find the one closest to you. Thank you for watching. I need some breakfast.